All right, live. How's it going, everybody? So we are out at El Dorado Park, getting ready to get started. I'm a little early, so I get some warm-ups in. We're gonna jump right into it in a moment. How's it going, everyone? Let's see. 1 a.m. for me. This life was unexpected. Oh man, where are you at? Where's the stream happening for you right now? Seems we don't only have people from the States today. That's pretty cool. So we're going to see who jumps on the next few minutes as we kind of dive into it. But yeah, getting in a little bit early, going to get some warm up in, and then we are going to dive into some pogos. So I wanted to talk today about pogos. I get a lot of questions about them, and a lot of people are kind of struggling with them lately. But the idea, based on what I saw from the poll I did and some of the comments I've gotten recently, is that people are struggling with no-handed pogos, with certain pogo variations like the switch foot. And luckily, our buddy Denim Hill just did a saran wrap trick tip on his YouTube channel. So we're gonna probably glaze over those briefly. But luckily, Denim makes some good stuff, so I don't have to worry too much about that. I'm gonna drink some coffee because it's still early for me. Be out sessioning, and we're gonna jump right into it. So let me just warm up a bit. Let's see, got a kind of new setup. We're going to warm up with. See if we can break it in a little bit. Let's see. Pogo God. I don't know about that. I mean, Denim's got some great ones. Sean's got great pogos. People like Turi Zoltan. There's a lot of people out there doing some good stuff. Let's see. Actually going to change this angle a little bit, see if we can fix up how we're looking at the camera. 1 a.m. in China. Oh, that's so sick. You're tuned in from China. That's so rad. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to El Dorado. This is the premier freestyle skate park in Long Beach, California. Oh boy. All right. Get this angled better. Let's get some footwork in. So my warm-ups usually are footwork, right? So I think I talk about this in every stream, but I almost always warm up. It's just some dancing, some footwork, nothing too fancy. And a lot of that. I'll keep the board out. Getting there. We'll warmed up shortly, a bit more warmed up at least. All right, where's everybody in from? What's going on with everybody? How hot is it down there, Mike? It's like 70s or 80s. We had a heat wave. It was brutal for a minute there, but today it's been all right. It's still pretty early. I'm sure what little bit of gloom we have is gonna burn off quite soon. The spins, though, man, the spins are weak. I unlocked something like a couple weeks ago and then seemed to have lost it, but always working on spins. All right, so next up, we're gonna start with pogos, right? We had a lot of questions about pogos, no-handed pogos specifically, which is the first one that I learned. Now, there's a few things that make a huge difference with no-handed pogos. Now, obviously, I ride a freestyle board. This one is almost a single kick. It's got a slight upturned nose. This is an upcoming board from Waltz Skateboarding, which is a company that I run that makes freestyle boards. Now, single kicks, in my opinion, are the best for pogos. Like, I love the feeling of pogoing on a flat nose or something with a very mellow nose. And I'll actually pogo the board upside down. So this is the tail. It's facing upward. The reason for that is the board can stay very vertical. It doesn't have to be kind of pitched to one side or angled in order to stay stable. And it's just more comfortable against my leg that way. So that's one thing that really makes pogos a lot easier. Not that you need a freestyle board, but if you can you get one or if you have one, I would suggest doing it on the nose. So in addition to that, freestyle boards are quite a bit shorter than the standard street skateboard. So you'll notice if my feet come off the board, I'm not getting popsicle, I'm not getting racked. So that's really important. A lot of times you're skating with a 35 or 32 inch street board, 35, what? Like a full size street board, it's gonna be too long and you'll have the danger of falling off the board and having it hit you, which isn't great. But luckily with this board, it's a bit shorter, not a big deal. Oh, another thing. Notice the skid plates on my board. If you're in the chat section, feel free to chime in if you have any questions about this. Whenever I try to hit a pogos, I can't balance and it kills my knee. Any tips? Great, we're gonna get to that. So before I get to that, you'll notice I have skid plates on the nose of my board. Now these are plastic pieces that screw into the nose. See the rivets on top? And what these do is they protect your nose from getting chipped. So I don't ever get razor tail, which helps because when I don't get razor tail, I also tend to not break my boards as quickly from hopping on them because this part of the board is actually banging against the ground. And if I had a worn out nose, if I was doing this on the tail, if I had a worn out tail, this would chip to death so quickly after I started pogoing. It wouldn't really be worth it. But luckily, like I say, these last a bit longer for that reason. And you were asking, who was that? Henry. Henry, you were asking about your knee. So, ordered a Waltz skateboard not long ago. There were no flat nose models available. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have one available right now, but we will have some soon. But even a double kick freestyle board can be mellower than an average street board, so it will still be more well suited for pogos and for most stalled tricks like pogos, truck stands, Caspers, all of those. So another super weapon. And now this is a kind of special one that a friend of mine made for me. But now any shin guard will work. But I have this fancy little plastic shin guard that sits on the front of my shin and it wraps around the inside of my calf. And this thing is a game changer because when I'm in a pogo, so let's say I'm set up right here, it hits in that exact spot. So for me, because my board is shorter, it doesn't hit me in the knee, like here, so much as it hits me right below the knee. And when I'm doing a no-handed pogo, when I have this guy on, it'll sort of allow the truck to hit me right in the shin guard rather than on the leg, and makes you more comfortable, doesn't hurt as much, and just makes you, or allows me to balance better. So that's a big one. If you don't have a super specialty shin guard that hugs the side of your leg, you can wear a regular soccer shin guard. Just don't put the little booty part on, the little bottom strap on, and if you just turn it to the side, that works as well. I used that for maybe the first 15 years I skated, or 10 years I skated, and that worked just fine for me. But shin guards are a game changer. It's all about making it comfortable and making it so you're not in pain whenever you're doing these pogos. Let's see, what else? If you're interested in changing up your setup, maybe you're adding a street board, but you don't want to dive into a freestyle board, but you want to make your board better for pogos. Risers help as well. So I don't ride any risers, but if you put a little shim or a riser underneath that truck, it'll widen that platform. All right, that's enough about setups though. Covered a lot already. Is that the board you set up on Insta? Yep, it is. Still love the board, thank you. Glad you love it. Sorry, a lot of topic. Any tips for 360 rail whip? We'll get to that another time, I promise. But right now it's all pogos. We're gonna cover pogos. So when I'm setting up for a pogo, I like to have my back foot on the truck. And I really recommend figuring out the balance and the hop before you figure out the dismount or the entrance. So you want to practice just trying to balance on that truck and then doing a couple hops. So like I'm saying, back foot is going to be on the truck. How's it going? Oh, that's cool. How you doing? So back foot on the truck, and my truck is going to be up against my leg, right? So what I'm focusing on is getting the middle of my foot right over this base plate, right? So I'm about right there. Now you don't want to be too far over this way, so like your toe is on there. You don't want to have your heel on there. Center of the foot, like that, right? From here, I'm going to set up on that board. I'm going to do is try to step up onto that foot and bring my front foot just above the bolts and basically try to lock my ankles together. So I'm imagining there's like a really powerful magnet between my ankles and they're getting sucked together. And you're really just going to be pinching the deck between your feet, between your ankles, in between your legs. So put that back foot in position and then now I hop, but you don't want to start by hopping. You just want to get up on that truck and then try to balance there. And see if you can do that, right? Start there. Let's see. Is it good to be on them, or it's good to do them on double kicks? Yeah, you can do them on double kicks too. There's not really like necessarily rules to which boards you can or can't do them on. I know plenty of people are doing on double kicks. I'm seeing a single kick now, and I love single kicks for that, or kind of mellower noses to hop on, but it's not necessary at all. Let's see. Why do you stop using risers or riding risers? I don't really like the feel of risers for rolling tricks and a lot of footwork. I like having kind of like a medium to low setup for a lot of those tricks. And while they help for pogos, they don't make them that much harder for me to not have risers, right? I can still do a lot of my pogo tricks without them. So they're not just totally necessary. But when I was first starting out freestyling, I think I rode 1/8 inch, maybe 1/4 inch risers. And I had I think I had 1/8 inch, yeah. And then they also help with rail stands too, because they make a wider platform when you're standing on the rail. Is it good to do them on double kicks? Let's see, got that one. Used to be able to do wrap my leg. Losing it. Wrap my leg around the board while standing on the truck. Oh, cool. That's a saran wrap. Denim Hill just did a trick tip on that actually. His YouTube channel was great. No-handed pogos are way harder on double kick boards. I agree, and we're gonna get to pogos as well. So let me wrap up this double kick or this no-handed pogo kind of tip, and we'll jump into handed pogos, the way that I learned them on double kicks. We're gonna move out of the way so they can have room to skate as well. Let's shift all our gear over a bit.
This is excellent practice for you. You can do this all the time to use for transportation.
Oh no! There we go. All right. Professionals, here we are. Making it happen. Oh my gosh. There we go. Gotta love it. Technical difficulties, y'all. All right, we're back. Jeez. Have you been trying any new tricks or cleaning any up? Oh, I've been doing a ton. Lately, okay, should be back now. So lately I've been working on a bunch of truck stand tricks again. And I actually was inspired to work on, oh man, what was it? Fan flip, which we're gonna get to later. That was a tough one for sure. Is there a reason the skid plate doesn't have a lip to protect the lip of your board? Too slippery? Yeah, so one thing is I always thought that was too bulky. Like I know some companies have made ones that curl around the edge. I think it's a little bulky and cumbersome when you're doing things like rail flips, where that edge of the board is actually making contact with the ground. Also, we do so many tricks that also work on the top of the board that you actually need it to wrap all the way around to the top. And then it gets in the way of your foot. There's just a lot happening there. Now, this does protect that edge, that bottom edge, from getting beat up as much, And eventually, if you kind of pound down the tail or the nose to the edge of the skid plate, it kind of provides a bit of protection and support in addition to the tail. So there are benefits to still having it, even though it doesn't curl all the way around. But I don't know. I've skated some boards that had like bicycle tires or inner tubes that wrapped around and other kind of doodads and things to like keep your tail protected. But I find that a skid plate like this is kind of the best option. Works the best for me at least. So we're talking about hopping in no-handed pogos before we moved over. Let's see. So, like I was saying, no-handed pogos. You got your back foot on the truck in the middle of your foot on the truck, and your front foot's going to be just above those truck bolts. Now notice I'm not doing this move where it's like, you know, pressed against the grip tape, and I'm not down here with my foot on the ground. It's right here, maybe kind of angled down a little bit, but I'm really just focusing on pressing the board against my leg with that foot, with my ankle. Now, to hop, what I'm focusing on doing is just basically jumping off of the truck foot, and if I'm squeezing enough, I should be able to kind of like pull the board up with me, right? I'm really just focusing on keeping that pinch happening, keeping that board pinched between my legs, and just getting small hops off my truck foot to pull the board up. It's not super like complicated. The main thing you want to focus on is not doing very big hops. Some people will like to try to do like big pounding high jumps in pogo. It's not necessary. You want to do kind of small hops. And the real game changer with hopping in no-handed pogos is that as you lean in one direction or the other, you'll find that you can kind of hop in the direction you're falling. Sort of like when you're standing on one foot, if you lose your balance, you can kind of hop to stay centered. Same idea with this. So if you're trying to just balance in pogo, balance in that no-handed pogo stance, right? If you start to lose your balance in one direction or another, you might find that you can keep your balance better if you're kind of hopping in the direction that you're falling or in the direction that you're leaning. But that's kind of how I started working on those tricks. And then as I got more comfortable hopping, I started working on the intro, sort of getting into pogo, and then dismounting from pogo, which that part can get a little spicy. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I also want to talk about the handed pogo, since a lot of you are doing the double kick thing, which is awesome. Double kick street boards, they totally work for both no-handed pogos and handed pogos. However, using your hands makes riding a big double kick board a lot easier and safer, in my opinion. Let's see these comments before we dive into that.
Hey, what did you train yesterday?
Let's see, can't imagine what would happen if this trick goes wrong. Haha. We talked about that earlier. So actually I'm riding a board that is a freestyle board. It's a bit shorter. So if something goes wrong, this is what happens. I'm fine. It's a short board, dude. Come on. Get here on time. Watch the full stream. Is there generally a preference of smaller versus larger wheels for freestyle? I imagine smaller just helps you eliminate unnecessary weight. How about wheel grip? Does friction make tricks easier? That's a great question, actually. So I ride, personally, a 97A wheel, which is a bit softer. Kind of traditionally, street wheels or like your average Bones or Spitfire wheels are going to be like 99 or 100A. That's a durometer rating. These are 97s, so they're kind of on the soft side of a hard wheel, if that makes sense. In terms of size, I personally ride a 54. Freestyle wheels range anywhere from 53 to, I've seen something like 57. That's kind of like the upper limit on most popular wheels these days. And for durometer, we can go anywhere from 8, or I've seen 95A, I think that's kind of a common soft freestyle wheel durometer, to 99A. So we stay pretty mid-size, we don't go too big, compared to longboard wheels, which are like anywhere from 60 to, you know, the 70 millimeter range. We stay pretty small to medium size. And then duros, yeah, we don't get super duper soft either. I guess the biggest thing with that is we want to be able to grip the ground for a lot of our footwork tricks. And if you're skating on kind of rougher ground, you don't want to be kind of thrown off and thrown out of your flow because you're going over rocks or gravel or cracks. But as long as you can keep your riding smooth, you don't really need something too soft, because also a soft wheel doesn't really respond and react as quickly. And we also want a board that can kind of whip around and pivot on a dime and do all the sort of quick flips and slides that we like to do with our tricks. So riding something like an 80 durometer wheel, super soft wheel, it's going to feel kind of soggy underneath you and not going to feel as responsive. So we try to avoid that. But yeah, weight of boards isn't a huge deal. But I don't like to ride something too heavy. That's why I don't have like risers and a bunch of other doodads on here, a bunch of other gizmos, doodads. Gotta figure out more words to describe the accessories for skateboards. Drink lots of milk, yes. Can you talk about getting in detail, as I struggle with it right now? Don't know if maybe I'm missing something. That's great, yeah. So let's talk about handed pogo first, and that will actually allow me to talk about how I get into pogo. So with a no-handed pogo, we're usually, hands up out of the way, keeping our back straight, and our feet are doing all the work. The handed pogo, like the name suggests, you're using your hands to stabilize the board. So my back foot is on the truck. My front hand is on the top of the board, and my back hand is wrapped around the side. So I'm like right here. Now, some people like to grab the wheel, people like to grab the truck. As long as this hand's somewhere that kind of keeps the board stable and at this angle, that's all that matters. You want it to have a good grip on the board. Doesn't have to be like, anything in particular. You just can't have the board flipping around and getting out of the way. Now, I like to hold the board kind of at like a, 20, 30 degree angle. Not all the way out here, not totally vertical, kind of somewhere in between. Back foot on the truck. Here's the most important part in my opinion. My front foot is out of the way. So notice my front foot isn't glued against the grip tape like it was in the no-hand pogos. It's kind of hanging out behind me, just kind of balancing my upper half. So as I'm bending over to grab the board, my foot's hanging out behind me, counterbalancing my upper body. That's really important, right? Because if my feet are glued together while I'm hunched over, I end up getting curled up into a ball. Kind of start doing this, which just looks goofy, and also it's like 20 times harder to balance when you're curled up into a ball like that. Having your front foot kind of dangling behind you allows you to really stay balanced and, again, counterbalance your shoulders, right? Since I'm leaning over, I need to put that foot out here to keep myself aligned and balanced over the truck. Let's see. Any questions? Milk for sure. All right. Thanks for your input. Thank you. All right. So, just like the no-handed pogo, we're going to be jumping off that truck foot, and this time we're going to be pulling the board up to our foot. It's kind of like the yo-yo hop, right? So remember the yo-yo hops where we jump off the tail and pull the board up? Same idea. Pogo, we're going to be jumping off that truck and then pulling the board up to our foot. And again, it's super important that we do small hops. We're not jackhammering the board into the ground. We're not trying to do damage to the ground or the board. We're just doing small little hops to keep our balance. Yeah. That's the idea. So I would always recommend doing that before you dive into getting into pogo or getting out of pogo. It's important that you know how to get the trick done, how to stand on it, and balance on it, and hop in it before you work on any of those other details. Let's see. What is the difference between stepping up into a handed pogo and stepping up into a handed 50-50? So it's basically the same idea. With a handed 50-50, right, or a handed truck stand, this is a great segue. You already know the whole setup of this video, don't you? You know where we're going with this. So the truck stand, right, you have to talk about in the trick tips, practicing this motion, and then practicing the step up, right? So you'll notice that that sets you up in basically the same position as you need for a pogo. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that first half of the truck stand, and then we're gonna bring our back hand into pogo position, into handed pogo position, either on the truck that's comfy for you, on the wheel. I like to have my hand on the side, my palm against the wheel. And that's pogo position, right? So it starts off like a regular truck stand, and then we'll start hopping. Now if you haven't watched our trick tip for the truck stands, I think Tony Gale has one as well. There's a bunch out there. It's important that you really have a good feel for the handed truck stand and the handed 50-50 tricks. You gotta have a feel for that trick before you start diving into these pogos. I really recommend that figure those out first. Can you talk about the different ways of getting out of pogo? Yes. Wow, this is great. All the segues are perfect. So once you're in it, right, just like a handed truck stand, the easiest way, in my opinion, to get out of a handed pogo is to do a half finger flip out. So you're really just going to be relying on your front hand to flip the board away from you. It's sort of like snapping your fingers, right? You're dropping the board down, flipping away, lifting the knee of your front leg, and trying to stomp your feet down. So altogether it looks like this. When I'm standing on the truck, one thing that I try to focus on the most is lifting my front knee. So watch this leg. Before I do the flip, my foot is basically already over the board, ready to land on it. So I'm saying go easy. Notice that I'm not hanging the board back here and then trying to pull it up at the last minute. I'm hopping, bringing that leg up, and just allowing everything to come down into position. I don't have to do a whole lot of movement. It's more about just letting the board drop and having my feet in position to land right where they need to be. It makes it a lot easier. You don't have to think as much. You don't have to worry about bringing your foot around. If your front foot's already in position, you just slam right down. It is hot. Let's see, what's your dream pogo trick? Oh man, 360 windmill. Sean Burke could probably do them at some point. I don't know if anybody's ever actually done one, but yeah, they're crazy. Regular windmills go between your legs like the wrong way. I've never understood them, but I feel like that's like the next level move. What's a good way to get out of no-handed pogo? I've been flopping out, but it doesn't feel that cool. Yeah, so the flop is my favorite way, my first way I got out of it. The flop, I love that. That's the name we're using. So, like everybody tries the pogo, no-handed pogo this way, where they'll be in it, and they'll sort of lean in that direction, and let the board flip down. So that's the way that I learned how to do it. Basically, standing in pogo, trying to lean in the direction of the trucks, right? Lean this way, and then as the board sort of starts to tip over, I just try to get that foot out of the way, let the board fall, and then put the other foot back on the truck, or back on the grip tape, sorry. So, I'm leaning this way, right? And what's really nice about that is your grip tape foot, the foot that's on this side, never really comes off the board. It sort of just helps you push the board over and then stays in contact. So you're never like jumping off the board, you're never losing contact. It's not as scary that way, in my opinion. But there's other ways to do it. One way that works for me is that if you're standing in no-handed pogo, you can actually reach down and pull the board into a handed pogo, or handed trip stand, and then flip out the other way. It's sort of like combining the two tricks, right? The handed pogo and the no-handed pogo. Now, I recommend learning that one because it's sort of the first step to being able to do a no-handed truck stand out of a pogo, which I'll get to in a moment. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. The no-handed truck stand out of a pogo is sort of a very common one. It's a really popular one among like pro freestylers. It just looks cool in my opinion. Oh man, you got Sean in here. Double-footed no-handed pogo. Sean, you gotta do a 360 windmill. You gotta get it, man. We're already talking about you doing it. Oh boy. Lean other way into Casper. That is also possible. So that's kind of like a no-handed sidewinder, right? Sidewinders are a whole can of worms. Bob's Freestyle and Bank Skateboarding. Hello, Bob. Bob, up in here. So, yeah, the sidewinder is a fun one because it goes up to truck, and then you kind of step over into a Casper, switch Casper in my case. There's a bunch of ways to get out of it, but yeah, you can totally do that. I believe Christian Heiser does that one. So kind of lean to the left and then catching Casper. See if I can do that. It's been a while. You gotta juggle it, dribble it. Oh, we'll battle that one later. That might be one that I have to dive into, but let's talk about hands-on tips for your pogos, no-handed pogos. What are you working on, Derp? Thanks, Bob. Good to see you. Max 10. Is it more comfortable to get out of a pogo with a certain hand depending on which foot you're pogoing, or does it not matter? Are you talking about no-handed or handed, Max 10? I personally like using my front hand. So my back foot's on the truck. I can show you. If my back foot's on the truck, I usually use my front hand, whether it's no-handed or handed, right? So let's say I'm doing a handed pogo, I pull it up. It's now in my front hand. And I'm using my front hand to flip it down. Main reason for that, I think, is just that I don't have to do a whole lot. Like, I'm still kind of in a comfortable position. I can just drop my hand down and move it. I'm trying to use that backhand to flip out, right? I mean, I can either go this way, like that, but it's kind of an awkward cross-body motion no matter what. And we want to keep you as square and sort of in a comfortable, not contorted position as possible. Keep your balance better. Let's see. Hopefully that helps. Come at me with more questions. Let's help you out. What are you working on? What tricks are you working on with truck stands, pogos? What things are really frustrating for you? What's going wrong? Let me know. This is the best time to get trick help. Okay, but the description says you're going to talk about your favorite ice cream flavor. That's what I'm here for. Oh man, mint chip. I don't know, or maybe like, this is mango ice cream I had the other day. Man, hot days, solid. I don't know. When you're getting out of the truck stand, you do a little hop, right? Yeah, so you're gonna have to hop off of your back foot a little bit, off the truck foot, we'll call it, a little bit. I always lose my balance while doing that. Interesting. So, I think one thing that you'll want to focus on, turn the camera down a little bit. If you're losing your balance during that part, it's important to just focus on just that part of the trick, right? So I like to break it down, and I actually teach this one backwards. So I'll teach how to balance in the truck and get the flip down. So before you work on any other part, before you work on doing the entrance, before you work on doing everything together, we want you to work on just holding the board out. Notice at a 45-degree angle, so it's not all the way up here, not all the way down here, it's about 45. Find that comfortable spot with your back foot. Get a good grip with your hand. What we're gonna do is we're gonna work on just doing this. Balancing, kind of lifting that front leg up and over the board. So, that seems like it's not a lot, but if you think about getting a comfortable position, like finding sort of the balance point, so that you can kind of sit here without doing this, or doing this. Like you can kind of like balance for like a split second right over the center axis. You're on the right track, and that's gonna take some time. to really figure out the balance just standing on the truck. Work on that, take some time with that. Don't feel like you're wasting time. It's super important that you just practice standing on that truck. So once you've kind of worked on that for a while, we're going to work on getting that front leg up and over the board and then flipping out. So notice that my foot is like right here. It's not down here when I start flipping. It's not over here when I start flipping. It's like right over the deck. So that just has to drop straight down. So that's going to also help keep your balance during that hop and flip motion, right? Having your front foot right in position where it needs to be means there doesn't have to be a whole lot happening. Your foot just drops right down, and as long as your kind of center of weight is over the board, it should be a lot easier to maintain your balance. Let's see. Never keep my balance. I might do some 50-50 finger flips today. Heck yeah. Get that, Bob. So, another thing that I see a lot of people doing when they're practicing this, and it kind of ruins the practice routine, is they'll jump off of this foot, not this foot. So, it's really important that you're setting up and you're stalling on the truck first, and then jumping off that foot to get down. So, watch this. Now, see if you notice the difference between that and this little motion. Notice how I jumped off this leg that time, so I was never actually balancing on my truck at all. Super important that you have at least a split second where you're balancing on the truck. How's it going? So, super important that you just spend a little bit of time on that truck before you flip out. That's how you'll get the most out of this sort of practice routine. I hope that helped. Kind of a in-depth breakdown of that. No-handed pogos also lead to your arms being able to help you balance like a tightrope walker does. Yeah, totally. So the reason I loved no-handed pogos when I first got into it was that my back could stay straight, my arms could stay out on the sides of me. I didn't have to be hunched over, curled up into a ball to do the trick. Being able to keep your back straight and just trusting that your legs are going to hold the board under you means that you can kind of focus on balancing up here rather than with your legs. Helped a ton, thank you. Yeah, no problem. I love being able to find those like little things that kind of help people learn tricks. So if I can see everybody out there, I can see what you're doing, you're posting your attempts at these tricks, you're posting your process, your battle with these tricks, it helps us, not just me, but all the freestylers out there. Sort of like throw tips at you. Maybe like, hey, try moving your foot back a little bit, or like maybe go faster, maybe go slower. Those little things can really be a game changer when you're learning something new. So always share your progress. You want to see it. Any tips on board longevity, protecting my nose? Whoa. Just got lost in this one. Any tips on board longevity, protecting my nose to a person addicted to doing pogos? Find concrete that isn't super gnarly. If you're lucky enough to live in a town that has like a smooth concrete area, I would say try to do most of your pogo training, like your real drilling on that. We're spoiled here. We have this fantastic black ground spot, and I know not everywhere has that. But if you can find a square that's not, made out of sandpaper or gravel, that'll help a lot. Another thing you can do is try to do small hops. So notice when I'm doing my pogos, I'm not just jamming the board in the ground. I'm not doing like jackhammer jumps. I'm just trying to sort of barely get off the ground in order to keep my balance. And the point of those hops is to kind of keep my board aligned under my upper body so that I'm not constantly like tipping one direction or another, right? The hops help you keep your balance. You can also, I would always suggest riding skid plates. Like I said before, having a plastic piece on the end of the board prevents you from getting a razor tail. And as long as this tail doesn't get turned into a really sharp point, I'm much less likely to get delaminations and chips and gnarly, breaks in my nose and tail. Last week I was walking to the park, someone across the street yelled, "Do a kickflip." Oh, that's a freestyle board. Do a pogo. Wow. That's amazing. That was a highlight of my day, just reading that. So sick. We were gonna do a little session with Andy, running around town, telling pros to do pogos, and it didn't really work out. I think that's something on the on the schedule at some point. Could you please show us a few steps in goofy stance? Please, I can't check this. That's great. Yeah, I'll try to do some switch ones. I don't know if I can do switch pogos. This is where Sean comes in and he's like, man, pull it together. Do you balance with your hips or shoulders or both? So I'll come back to the switch pogo. I want to answer this one real quick. So for the no-handed pogo, just that. So for the no-handed pogo, I'm kind of squeezing my legs together. It allows me to keep my balance more. And with that, I'm trying to keep my back straight, my arm out. In that case, I'm using my shoulders. Now, in the case of the handed pogo, right, when both hands are on the nose, or the tail in this case, and I'm hunched over, it's hard to use your shoulders to keep your balance. So in that case, I'm trying to use my back, my front leg, to sort of counterbalance my shoulders, right? The more I lean over, the more I can stick my foot out. And in that case, I'm also hopping in the direction that I'm falling. So if I find that the board is leaning this way, I'm going to hop to keep the bottom of the board aligned with it. If I'm leaning this way, I'm going to hop in that direction. Same with front and back, right? And the hopping is really what's going to help you keep your balance. So it's important that you have a good grip on that nose, your foot is nice and secure on the truck, and you can kind of control it wherever it wants to go. You're the best skater. Oh, thank you. And one of my friends' role model. Thanks, man. I'm definitely not the best. I'm not going to take credit for that. I have a lot of friends who taught me a lot of tricks and still teach me a lot of tricks because they're way better than me. But I'm glad I could help you guys learn stuff, folks learn stuff. I find the handed pogo harder to linger in. I agree. As long as I have the right protection, I have that shin guard on, I have skid plates, and I have a good board for it. No-handed pogos are much easier for me. But everyone is different. Luckily, I don't want to linger in it. Funny. You balance. Oh, and goofy pogos. So, if you're a goofy skater, you skate with your right foot forward. In that case, I would probably recommend having your left foot, your back foot on the truck. So if I can do this, I'll try to do a handed one. A bit choppy. Things to note. My front hand is square on the top of the nose, or in this case it's the tail. My back hand is sort of wrapped around the side. I like to have the heel, my hand against the wheel, and my fingers kind of wrapped around the tail like that.
That's a start, right?
And the board's held at an angle. It's not all the way at 45 or really low because that's really hard to hold, but it's maybe at 20 or 30 degrees from vertical. Another thing is, if your board's too vertical, if it's too close to up and down, right? You're way more likely to have the board pushed this way. And we don't want that to happen. We want to make a comfy platform for us to stand on. We want to be at a comfy angle over here. Let's see. Oh man, so many good questions. Good stuff, Mike. Thanks, Bob. We're trying. Let's see. How do you flip out of them? Yes. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. For the handed pogo, a lot of it is about kind of flipping it away from you. Now we've done truck stand and people have 50-50, I'm gonna say 50-50 trick tips out there, but biggest thing in my opinion is flipping the board away from you, imagining snapping your fingers and dropping the board down, right? Meanwhile, you gotta have your front foot above the board. Yeah. That's about everything I usually focus on, kind of the key parts of the traditional pogo, handed and no-handed. But if you have any other questions that we haven't covered yet, I'm happy to answer them. Let's see, hopping in an outside foot pogo. Ooh, outside foot pogo is a good one. So You asked any tips for hopping in an outside foot pogo. I treat those, I assume you're talking about handed ones, because the no-handed crossfoots are just gross. A big part of that is treating it exactly like you would a regular pogo, right? So, regular handed pogo. So, I'm going to be in basically the same stance. My back foot on the truck, obviously that's on the other side. My backhand is now on the top of the tail. My front hand is now right in that section here, right on the side of the tail with my heel of my hand, right? Boards at that angle, the same angle I'm talking about, it's not quite vertical, it's kind of side. There's that. And in this case, I still have my other foot hanging out behind me. However, in this case, I kind of have my foot kind of poking out this way. It's not just directly behind me. It'll kind of start to drift that direction. I just noticed that recently, but I think that kind of helps me stay balanced over the truck a bit better. But you really just got to think about it the same way you would in a regular pogo. You just got to kind of have a bit better grip on that board and try to make sure it's not going to slide out or slip out of your fingers or anything like that. It's not a whole lot. A lot of it's going to be just a mental block. It's going to feel super unnatural compared to your regular pogos. Having a hard time finding skid plates anywhere in Canada. Do you have plates in stock at Waltz? Yes, we do have skid plates at Waltz. You can also find them at Skull Skates. They usually have them in stock. I'm not sure what sizes or shapes they have, but PD's Hot Shop, Skull Skates has some decent ones. Waltz does ship to Canada, but we're still working on getting a distributor in Canada, so it is tough to ship up there. And unfortunately, we don't have anybody in the country that sells them. So I'm really sorry about that. We are working on it. Let's see. Where do you buy skid plates? Waltz Skateboarding. There's a link in this description of this video. There's also a link on my YouTube channel, my homepage. And you can go to waltzskateboarding.com to find skid plates. And soon we will have other freestyle gear as well. It's been a long time since we had other freestyle gear because of this wild year we had before 2021. So working on it again. I'm having a hard time finding skid plates, got to that. Any tips for foot pressure while balancing on the truck? Do you push straight down into your hand or away from your hand? So I'm kind of pushing mostly down, but on a handed pogo, I'm probably pushing a bit more into the truck. So in that case, since the board's at an angle, my foot can kind of be rested up against that deck, see what I'm saying? And I'm pressing a little bit this way, but I'm mostly pressing down. Pressing into the deck allows me to avoid slipping off. You definitely don't want to be leaning this way or pressing on the outside of your foot because you are likely to catch the wheels and kind of roll off. You want to really have it kind of in that nook and on the truck, but resting against the deck and sort of nested right there. No-handed pogos, you don't really have the luxury of being able to press into the deck as much because the board's more vertical. So in that case, you're pressing straight down to the truck. Now, that can lead to your foot slipping off a bit easier. So you might find that having a 1/4 inch riser or a small riser underneath your truck might help you keep better balance. Some people also put grip tape on that section of the base plate. There's all kinds of little tips, longer screws, tons of things you can do to make it more stable. But the best thing you can do is have really great form and keep your feet glued together to pinch that board together, pinch the board between them. Nice to see more Canadians on here. Eric, why don't we have like a freestyle like distro or something? We'll get you on consignment, man. Let's figure it out. What's the difference between freestyle trucks and street trucks? There's really not much of a difference. So I like Ace 11s. That's the trucks I'm riding, only because they come in a size that fits a 7.6-inch board. Now, freestyle decks need trucks that are a little bit narrower, and we'll talk about that another time. But generally, trucks are narrower than the decks, which means if I'm skating a 7.6-inch deck, I need, in this case, a 7.25-inch truck. It's hard to find a 7.25-inch truck from most companies, so I like Ace 11s. Bullet makes some, Tremendous makes some. There's other companies out there that make that size, but they're not a whole lot different from a street truck. One thing that I do on all of the trucks I ride and all of the completes that come out of Waltz Skateboarding is that They all get aftermarket bushings. These I've had for ages, but we put in harder bushings because we don't want the trucks to turn a ton. So you'll notice when I push down, it's not really giving much. It's not turning or getting too swoopy. And that's super important. We want nice stable trucks and stable bushings under us so that we can stay balanced and do the footwork we want to do pretty quickly. Canada gang, most apologetic gang in the world. Just kidding, I love you guys. I miss Canada. 2 years in a row I haven't spent my birthday in Canada and I'm bummed. Gotta get back up there. Greetings all the way from Germany. Saw you on Braille, it was incredible. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a great time at Braille. Is there a Freestyle Skateboard Discord? Ooh, I feel like it would be great to connect and chat with community. There was one, it kind of died. It went cold, but we're gonna work on one for Waltz actually, so we'll have a Waltz Discord very soon. Any tips on Running Man Pogo? Sorry to know the name. I think it's a switch with Pogo. Either I lose grip or I slip in the truck. Slip on the truck and explode. You explode. Oh, jeez. Tell you what, Mike, you can come visit me in horrible Texas. I'll take you bank skating. That would be so fun. We did the 10-mile bomb with Schmidt 2 Sundays ago, and I got broke off. So I could use another, maybe I could use another like week or 2 before I get broke off again, skating ditches. I appreciate it. So you're talking about the Running Man. So that one, oh man, this is gonna be why I practice. All right, get it. So, if that's the one you're thinking of, the biggest tip I have for that is do smaller hops. If you're trying to get up to here in between running mans, it's gonna be really hard to keep your foot consistently on the truck. I recommend focusing on getting that foot in the exact same spot. So it's easier said than done. You want to make sure that if this foot is here, you're trying to get your left foot or your front foot in the exact same position and kind of try to lean on the inside edge, or the outside edge rather, of that foot, right? So I'm not here. I'm almost like putting myself in the perfect position to roll my ankles. Don't do that. But try to land on like the pinky toe side of your foot on the truck. Try to get it nested right in that little gap. You might also find that holding the board at a steeper angle helps because you can kind of not quite get in the perfect position every time and still land somewhere you can balance. So drop that angle just a little bit here. And another important part is have good grip. If you're like barely holding the board, if your like fingers are barely on the deck, you're more likely to have the board flip in a direction and come out of your hands. But if you're like vice gripping the board, it's not going to go anywhere. So I try to have that board fully in control the whole time I'm doing those. Here we go. Looking into buying freestyle setup. Couldn't find anything at all available in the UK. Bummer. Yeah, the Waltz UK store is going to be out of stock for a minute. We're working on getting more out of the UK, but it will take some time. We have a bunch of new stuff coming in within the next couple months, so please just be patient. That was sick. Do you have any help? With those tricks, Sean Burke's always helping me out. He's always got the tips. How's it going?
Good.
Can I help you?
No. Just checking it out.
Oh, cool. Nice to meet you. I'm Mike.
Oh, Brian.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Yeah, heck yeah.
If I'm in your way, let me know.
What's up?
If I'm in your way, let me know.
Oh, not even, dude. That's I was curious to see what you're doing.
Oh yeah, you can just ask. I'm right here.
Was it weird what I did?
No, it's all good. Hope you're doing all right. Let's see. Are you good at impossibles? Yeah. I mean, we could definitely work on those. A lot of impossibles are about just getting your foot under the board. If you can't get your foot under the board, it's going to be tough to do. There's definitely a chance to do that one. All right. All right, I'm going to work on my favorite truck stand to end this, favorite pogo truck to end this. We're going to talk about the fan flip. Let's see. Found out the other day when I was working on this video about the history of freestyle tricks and invention of freestyle tricks that Shane Rouse invented this one. So you're going to be standing on the truck. You're going to flip it, back, no-handed pogo. He calls it the pogo, flip to pogo, which I guess is the proper term, proper name for it, but I'm not good at proper names. Let's see. I have to pogo, no-handed. Then I have to flip it, and then very quickly catch it with my legs. I'm gonna have to catch it in that pinch again, right? It's gonna be interesting. I turn the camera so I'm on film. Collision, bummer. Alright, let's try that one more time. I haven't done this one since I had a single kick, so it's gonna take me a minute. No-handed. Yeah, there we go. Wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Alright. How was that, everybody? That's probably my favorite no-handed pogo trick. One of, at least. Kid's crying because you messed up. Oh gosh. Yeah, not fun. Not a fun time taking those falls. Hope they're all right. Can you show a fan flip handed as well? Oh yeah, I'll work on that one. Let's see. I have not tried that one in a while. Let's see, we'll do this and then maybe one more. And then we're gonna call it for the day. Maybe I'll take one last request for advice before I go. So let's see. So a handed fan flip, we're going to do a handed pogo. We're going to flip with our front hand. Try to get you back in pogo. Back in 50-50, try to stand. The board too vertically, so I'm kind of pulling the board up as it flips, catching all of them here. That's not going to work. I got to hold it down lower and really push it out. I got to catch it too, right? What are we thinking in the comments here? Rob the Booty, what's up? I know it's not pogo, but any tips on broken fingers? Oh man, I can't get the whole rotation. That's a tough one. I think for that, you gotta kind of figure out how to do those half or front foot impossibles. So being able to hook your foot under the nose to flip it around really helps you get a sense of how to, I don't know, how to have your front and back foot work together on the, on the broken fingers. Let's see. All right. Retwist that hand. Oh man, I can't do that one. I gotta do the snap. I think we got it right here. while, but I'm happy with that. We believe. Thank you. Bob Lofton's here. He is here. Love having Bob in the stream. All right, so let's see. With the fan flip, with the handed fan flip, or the flip to pogo, the handed flip to pogo. Let's see. Sweating here. Sweating. Trying to read these comments real quick. Let's see a nollie to pogo. I've got the secret weapon, I've got the shin guards here, which are definitely the game changer for no hand pogo tricks. So I haven't done one of those in a while. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, there we go. Decent way to end it, I'd say. So, a few variations of the handed pogo, no handed pogo, sort of more advanced tricks you can learn with them. Hopefully, you'll have an easier time with the flipped truck than I did. Whew, I'm sweating. Sweating. Learn me now. Keep working on your handed pogos, keep working on your no-handed pogos. Let me know what other kind of advanced tricks you want to see in these future episodes. I don't want to get too deep on this one because we do want to focus on more of the beginner entry-level stuff. There's a lot of people making really great trick tips right now. Sean Burke has so many truck tricks, so many truck transfer tricks on his Instagram and TikTok. People like Tony Gale have their channel. Oh, who else? Sarah Park Metot, Ethan Young, Denham Hill. There's a lot of people out there teaching people to skate. Definitely check them out. Keep learning, keep taking care of each other, keep being good to each other. And we will see you very soon for another episode. We'll probably be doing more filming today throughout the Sunday session to teach more of you how to do these freestyle tricks. So take it easy. We'll see you then.